Welcome into the Paul Kuharsky podcast. I'm Paul Kuharsky of paulkuharsky.com, talking to you from Edley's Barbecue in 12 South, one of my favorite places in Nashville, definitely my favorite restaurant in Nashville. Come here and eat before Snowmageddon, Ice-Mageddon. Order from here when Ice-Mageddon eases out. I'm happy to see you guys here. Tweet it out. Tell the masses. Hope you are all set for the big storm. We're going to talk about Robert Saleh's start to what's unfolding with the Titans, which includes his keepers and no keeps from the staff that he inherited and Mike Borgonzi left in place for him to make decisions on. Tavandre Sweat's fit and non-fit in this system. Out of Mike Herndon's excellent sweeping piece on Robert Saleh's defense. 60% is a significant number. I've got a lot to say about that. All your questions. I know Al Harris and Aaron Whitecotton are two names that have surfaced as defensive coordinator. I don't have a lot on them. And defensive coordinator, much the way offensive coordinator wasn't that important for Brian Callahan, despite the fact that Brian Callahan failed as a head coach. Defensive coordinator, supplementary position in a different way for Robert Saleh, who is a much more proven defensive mastermind. I think it's not too strong a word. Will be for the Tennessee Titans, will call the defenses, and should be a very good defensive coach. So good to see you. Welcome in. Let's have a nice, good conversation as we head into hunkering and bunkering down. Swedish dance party. Yeah, I get this question a lot. Have we gotten rid of J-Rob's scouts? What's the hiring and firing timeline of those guys? I've said this time and time again. Scouts live on a draft cycle. So moves that are made in the scouting department come after a draft. Titan scouts are not super empowered people, though the place that they should do well is, say, in undrafted rookie free agency, where the Titans didn't do particularly well. Brandon Crenshaw Dixon is a guy that they like ultimately, but this roster of 2025 had room for guys to emerge, and the guys that ultimately were on this roster out of that pool didn't show a heck of a lot. But look, this is a top-heavy personnel department with Mike Borgonzi. Chad Brinker's still a part of that. You've got Reggie McKenzie, you've got Dave Ziegler, and you've got Dave Sagany. That's a top-heavy group. And I think that the on-the-ground scouts are largely information gatherers. They don't, in my estimation, have huge influence on who the Titans pick or don't pick. And you guys are often very concerned with them. And I do think there might be some concern with some of those guys that could do better there. But I don't think they're that important for all the eyes they have and all the film watchers they have and all the judgments that will be made higher up the chain there. So I don't think it's a thing. We've got somebody in here, and this is great, listening, driving from Scotland to Liverpool. That is awesome. Good to see you, IR. I've been looking at my analytics just a little bit more than usual to kind of see. On Google Analytics, there's automatically a map that shows you where people in the last 5 minutes are from. And like last night, when I put up Herndon's piece, I saw some people in China, and some people scattered in Southeast Asia, California, Canada. It's very cool. I was not a little late because there was breaking news like Rivers named the Bills head coach. I cannot imagine that the Buffalo Bills will go that direction. I was a little late because I was on the phone with my brother who recently had surgery. So I'm sorry about that. Could we get 3 coaches on staff? Has Morris been mentioned as defensive coordinator? I would think he could get a defensive coordinator job where he would have a bit more power than he would have here. I know everybody's curious about the timetable for the Bills because Brian Daboll, by all accounts, is the Titans' leading candidate there and is going to be the Titans' offensive coordinator if he's not the head coach of the Bills. That seems to me like a crazy hire for the Bills. He was a good offensive coordinator for a very good MVP-level quarterback, but they need somebody that can take them to a new, higher level. And I would think you would want, Brian Daboll didn't do well with the Giants. He had some of the same struggles as Salah in terms of personnel and things like that. The Giants had some talent. Now, they had quarterback problems, but John Harbaugh's inheriting a roster that's got some defensive linemen, some players at some other positions. And Brian Daboll, had a good first year, got a great year out of Daniel Jones early, but things went south. And I just think if you're the Bills and you're looking for somebody to take what Sean McDermott did and raise it up a level, somebody that was part of McDermott's program doesn't seem like the answer to me. I would have gotten like a Minter or a Halfley or somebody like that. Or go with one of these, or Shula, or go with one of these young offensive guys, a Kubiak. So I don't know. They can't hire Phillip Rivers. That would be insane. So apparently these thumbnails that I put up, I should put up after the podcast and not before, based on the response that I'm getting to them. So I'll take that under advisement. We've got somebody from the gym in Rutherford County. Maybe Salah will warm things up. Will Gordon, thanks for all I do. He loves being a member. Appreciate that very much. Shouldn't I be out getting milk and bread? We've done our shopping. I went to Costco yesterday. We have a lot of chocolate chip cookies in my house. I got scolded because we already had some. And then I bought a big thing of the big ones. And then I bought a big thing of the small ones. Look, I'm ready. I'm ready for us to be home for a long time. Clinton Bell, how are you, sir? I read Mike Herndon's piece on Salah's defensive scheme. Great article. I'm curious to see what happens to Sweat. Doesn't seem like he's going to have a position to play in this defense. Well, let's jump right into Tavandre Sweat. Tavandre Sweat is not a big favorite of the administration, I don't think. I think, when there was a talk about Jarvis Brownlee and his culture fit, I think Tavandre Sweat was another guy that they had some concerns with. They weren't eager to move him right away. They wanted to give him a chance to kind of rehabilitate his reputation in the building for a new head coach to come in and judge him. But no, you got to read this Herndon piece if you people haven't. It is incredibly thorough detail of what Robert Saleh runs defensively, why he runs it, how it's evolved, and then how the people the Titans have defensively fit into it, and who's out there that they could bring in that would definitely plug into it. And I'll go ahead and read you a little bit of what he wrote about Sweat. The Titans' 2024 second-round pick simply does not fit the mold of any player who Saleh has used over his 9 years in charge of NFL defenses. Saleh's defenses don't really use a traditional nose tackle. And that nose tackle, I'm interjecting, would be head up over the center. Typically, they play their nose tackle, back to Herndon, in a 2-eye alignment on the inside shoulder of the guard rather than a true zero technique or one technique. So that's either head up on the center or shaded to his shoulder. During the 49ers training camp, back to Herndon, in 2020, Salah was asked about the prospect of playing smaller players like Solomon Thomas at the nose tackle spot, and his answer was that, quote, "We value a lot of speed, get off, and explosiveness over just gargantuan size." That is not a good quote. That is not a good quote for Tavandre Sweat. One more paragraph from Herndon. While Sweat is unquestionably quick for his size, the calling card to his game is still the size, which Salah will not value as much as some previous coaches may have. And this is the sort of insight you get from Mike. And I think, he kind of addressed everybody on the defensive roster and a couple free agents. But I think Tavandre Sweat, people are fascinated with him based on his size. I've not been that high on him. I think he's a very good run defender who lacks the pass rush oomph I'm looking for from the 38th pick in the draft. But I think, Salah will have to make an adjustment to what he wants to do in order to have Tavandre Sweat be a part of it, or the Titans will be looking to move Tavandre Sweat in order to get somebody who's a better fit. Good question, Clinton. And here's an endorsement of Herndon from Sean. Paul's the best reason to join PK.com, but Mike H. is a close second. He's the best. Look, I've tried to put together some people there that offer things that I cannot, and Mike Herndon is certainly one of them. He was the first guy I brought on board, and I'm thrilled to have him. Do I think Daboll is a likelier option if McDaniel gets hired for the Bills' head coaching position? Daboll sounds like is the Titans' offensive coordinator if he does not get the Bills' job. Here's a secret that I use on McDaniel's Josh in New England and McDaniel Mike, fired from Miami and now in line to coordinate for the Chargers unless he gets a head coaching job. McDaniels, plural, has had multiple chances, plural. McDaniel, singular, has had one chance, no S. That's my trick if you want to use it. Right. Look, if you guys are going to fill this up with compliments, I'm going to throw a few of them on the screen. Wagner says, my reporting has been especially great this hiring cycle. Thanks for everything I do. Thank you guys for your support of independent journalism on the Titans. I feel good about where I am heading into this new regime. It's always a challenge to develop those relationships. A lot of them pay off as this staff has turned over. Saying goodbye to a lot of people who I enjoyed covering and were good to me. And, I'm not one to get all sappy about the human element and stuff. And most of these people will land on their feet and be fine. But somebody like Denard Wilson is a very good coach. And he came here really loyal to the Tennessee Titans and had every intention of seeing this thing through and making it a better place, a better team, a better destination. So I know he's upset that he didn't get a chance to see that through, and I wish the best for him. Nick Holtz, great guy also, didn't have the impact that Denard did and took a lot of shit from fans, but a really, really solid guy. Is Salah going to be calling the defense guitar metal demon? Asks. Yes. Or is he delegating to a DC? No, he is going to call it. He said when he didn't call it as the Jets head coach, he felt less connected to the team. And while I understand the desire for a CEO guy, I lean towards I really want a head coach to be what he was that made him such an attractive candidate in the first place. And so for Robert Saleh, who gave up play calling in New York when he was with the Jets and said ultimately it made him feel less connected to his team, I don't want him less connected to his team. His connection with his team is one of the big reasons you want him. And he is a great defensive play caller. Now, hopefully he can, and I think calling defensive plays is less complex, less time-consuming than calling offensive plays. And so hopefully it'll work out for him. I understand why he wants to do it, and I think it'll be healthy for the football team. I do like CEO head coaches, but in this circumstance, I want him to be who he was that got him here. And I think that makes sense for him. Let's see what else we got. Bain or Bailey? Who do I want? Is the real question. I'll be writing about this more soon. I talked to somebody who's out of the league but consults with the league. It's not Blake Bedingfield. Very good historically personnel man. He said he would not take Bailey before middle of the first round. That he would take Bain in the top 5 for sure, and that you could play Bain as wide as 7, so off the tight end on the edge of the tight end, but not 9. Not and that Salah does some of that wide 9, which was that Jim Washburn, Jim Schwartz thing where Javon Curse was way out there, and that's not Bain's forte. I've got some doubts about Bain. I like that Bain is so flexible. Now, if we're talking about Tavandre Sweat being out and a mobile piece up and down the line, Ruben Bain is awfully appealing. And we're going to be talking more about defensive ends and less about outside linebackers. If Salah goes with what Salah has been with, might be more mix and match, and it's less important what your base defense is, but Bain maybe fits this better than the new defense better than he would have fit the old defense, where they needed a pure edge rusher outside. More of a burner and more length. The length is important, certainly, to any coach, including Salah. Ed Henry. It seems like McDaniel signed as Chargers OC, then went to interview for Buffalo head coach. Curious if the Titans wanted Daboll to finish interviewing first before signing. Well, certainly they have. McDaniel, for some reason, did it that way. And I think, it's as much the Chargers as it is him. The Chargers said, hey, let's lock this up. You'll be our guy, and then go interview. And if you get something else, then we'll start over. I don't know that that's the way to do things or not the way to do things. It's not customarily the way you do it. First, you would not get a head coaching job, and then you would become offensive coordinator. But then the Titans have to also ask, or hope that Arthur Smith remains available, that Cliff Kingsbury remains available. So they want this whole process to accelerate. And for them, the key chip right now is Buffalo. This is bad. Jordan Pace said the replies in my tweet about Lori Locust not being retained depleted his faith in humanity. It was sad. And look, I didn't tweet about everybody that's not retained. But Lori Locust put in a lot of time and effort, and she's well respected for her role. She's a defensive assistant. Before that, she had been a assistant linebackers coach. She knows what she's doing out there. She's not some token. The NFL doesn't have room for, they want to get women involved. And so they found some of the very most intelligent, highly skilled women with football minds, and they got them involved, and she's done very well for herself. And that people just presume terrible things about her is a very ancient and unfortunate and stupid thinking. And I don't know Lori Locust well at all, because the Titans did her a disservice while she was in that position, in those two positions. Their low-level assistants are just not made available to talk. And so they kept her true to that policy, which is fine. But I know they had requests for, individual stories. So, if they let me or Tehran or Teresa Walker, I know was pushing to talk to her for a long time to do a story on female coach in a male's world and everything. We would have gotten to know her a little bit, and I think that would have been good for everybody. The Bills PR and the Bills situation, just horrific this week. I mean, I know everybody says there's a good reason for ownership not to talk, but look, we learned a shit ton about the Bills. For them to throw Keon Coleman under the bus like that, and this is the danger of the GM being close to the owner while the coach is busy coaching. You know, but Bean is as responsible, if not more responsible, for the Buffalo Bills' shortcomings now as McDermott. And then you've got a community. I think Nashville would probably be like that if we ever got something going here. Has that feeling. But Buffalo's a special place with a special bond with its football team. It's been a good football team that's fallen short. It had a real affection for McDermott, who's a great community guy and a great guy by all accounts. If you're going to fire him, but treat him well on the way out. And their statement had a admiral instead of admirable in the first sentence of the statement is just atrocious. And then to make it like Bean's been great and McDermott hasn't is ridiculous. They got equal shares of the blame over that long period of time. But it does go to show you that in the traditional GM coach relationship, and you go back to Jeff Fisher and Floyd Reese, which is the best example we've had here. It happened with Robinson and Vrabel as well, though Amy Adams Strunk took care of that before they really fractured. Those guys they work together to good ends for a while, and then when things start to go bad, somebody blames the other one. They start to blame each other, and they can't survive. It's just unfortunate the way that works. If the Bills hire Daboll, who would I like them to go for from Pelisaro's list? I'm not big on Kingsbury because I think Kingsbury is a little bit static. Like Terry McLaurin in Washington did not move around a lot. It was predictable where he would be and how teams could defend him. Stenovich, somebody's mentioning here. I don't know how much play calling experience he's had, but you know that he wasn't calling plays in Green Bay recently as Matt LaFleur was doing that job. So there's a Brian Callahan situation for you. So I'm wary of that. Arthur Smith has not worked with a good quarterback. He made Ryan Tannehill work, and they were good for each other. But after that, he's not worked with a good quarterback. Desmond Ridder, more Marcus Mariota, a washed-up Aaron Rodgers, Fields and Russell Wilson done. So I'd be intrigued by Arthur, but I'm really rooting for the Daboll thing. And I know Daboll hasn't been terrific as a play caller, but I think there's a great deal of enthusiasm. For Brian Daboll as the Titans offensive coordinator because of the plan that he had for Cam Ward when the Giants thought they had a chance at Cam Ward. And I think he impressed the Titans with that plan, and that he conveyed that to Mike Borgonzi, and Mike Borgonzi's conveyed that to Robert Saleh. Saleh, for all we know, I'm sure had a conversation by now with Daboll, and that they feel on the same page with what Daboll can do for Cam Ward. And I think if Daboll doesn't get this Bills job, Daboll's best path back to being a head coach would be not to work with an MVP like Josh Allen, but would be to build up a young quarterback and show that he can take a Cam Ward and build him up a few rungs on the ladder. And then a team with a young quarterback or in position to draft a quarterback would say, I want that guy to be my head coach. So very, very big hire, obviously. Very, very big hire. What's on the menu today? I think I'm going to have the avocado salad. MB thinks a dark horse head coach candidate for the Bills could be Belichick. He wants too much power. Belichick wants to run the whole thing, and they just gave all the power to Bean. It's not happening. Swedish Dance Party says, isn't it loser talk being concerned with an OC getting sniped for a head coaching position? Sounds like something's going right if that happens. I don't know if you're talking about that in terms of McDaniel, who conceivably wouldn't coach a single game for the Chargers if he gets hired now. But I know Salah reports are, not only gave the Titans a plan for offensive coordinator now, but, fully aware of if my guy's successful, he's going to go. And I've got to have a pecking order of people ready to go. And, he's been in a system in San Francisco where Kyle Shanahan's lost plenty of people and has had people ready to go. Not that they are play callers, but doesn't Shanahan have somebody now that he's unwilling to let leave who contributes to the play calling that goes on in San Francisco? Blake asks, due to the weather in Tennessee, are they moving the meetings up? What meetings? The press conference is not moved up. The press conference is next Wednesday. I got a lot of shit when I said that's an awful long wait. And yes, there's weather. But the Titans always take a long time to get contracts done. They should have got the contract done and introduced him before all of this. There's other family stuff going on. I can't share the details of it, but it seems to me like it was avoidable stuff. I'm not making a federal issue out of it. And this isn't me desperate for content. I've had some great content up. You guys can vouch for that. And if you're not a member, you should go become a member and go read the content. Nobody else is talking to Paul Posluszny about the dinner he went out to with Robert Saleh when he took over as the Jacksonville linebackers coach. And nobody else has a story coming up about how he helped Brian Cushing win defensive rookie of the year. But traditionally, you introduce the coach pretty quickly. Let your community know and get excited. Titans now slow on this one, just like last year when they didn't introduce their free agents. Not a federal issue, but I comment on things. I commented on that thing. People can relax. It's not my teaching at Belmont or plurals that created that device for me to remember McDaniels versus McDaniel. Though Belmont, a lovely place just down the street here. I've got 2 new classes filled with some really tremendous kids. And I got to tell you, as Tuesday afternoons approach and Thursday afternoons approach, I am juiced up to go get over there and spend some time with these students and talk about some issues. And I find it incredibly fulfilling. It's added something terrific to my life. April says, my reporting is like home. Oh, that's nice, April. I hope when your power goes out, for this storm, it's not because of me being your home. Do I ever offer up, I'm the only Pro Football Hall of Fame voter in this market as credential when establishing relationships with new subjects? I try not to. Once in a while, it might come up. I do it sometimes when I'm calling blindly to someone to try to get them on the phone because they don't know who PaulKuharsky.com is. And I'm not saying I'm from the Tennessean or I'm from ESPN or I'm from some known outlet. So I say, hey, I'm Paul Kuharsky. I've been covering the Titans since they were in Houston. I'm the Hall of Fame voter in Nashville, to establish to them that I'm somebody of note here, not just some random guy, but not to flash, just to help establish my credentials so that I might get a phone call. But I tell you, my time at ESPN covering the AFC South is unbelievably helpful at a time like this. Like I mentioned, Posluszny and Cushing. I know those guys from when I covered that division. And then their overlap with Salah is, extraordinarily convenient for me. Here's a good story. So as I was looking through my Rolodex for connections with Robert Saleh to go explore his background and stuff, he was in Houston for a long time, including when I covered the Texans for ESPN and covered the whole AFC South. And so I was finding Brian Cushing, who I did talk to, and looking for some others. And Amobi Okoye, who is an excellent linebacker for Houston, was in my Rolodex. And I thought, oh, there's somebody that I could talk to. And I clicked on him. And the information I had for him was a email address that was at BlackBerry. And I was like, well, if I find a Moby, it's not going to be through a BlackBerry email address. So I'm dating myself a little bit there. Good that I got contact information. Bad that it's not evergreen contact information. I have not yet listened to the Jeffrey Simmons podcast. I know Bussing, they go a long time with their guys. I really need to turn that on this afternoon. I know he also talked to Jordan Schultz. I do want to hear it, though, because I know there was a lot of interesting stuff that kind of told us what we knew about Callahan. But hearing it is significant. So I want to handle that. Adam offers up a good thing here about Salah as play caller. If he's a good head coach, then he'll have the people in place to handle things while he's calling the plays. If he's good, it'll be a non-issue, and I agree with that. And I agree with this from Adam also. Understand the questions on Bain, but all he has done is produce. And that's absolutely true. And I haven't researched this, but there guys who have produced in college, and I'm sure there are there pass rushers who got to the quarterback in college who just didn't do it in the pros? And I need to do some research on that. Is Arvell Reese a real possibility? Now, this same person that I was talking about, he consults for multiple NFL teams. And he told me, and they often ask him about top prospects. And he said nobody had yet asked him about Tate or Reese, which is interesting to me. And it was interesting to him. He said that he had not watched them in great detail because he had not been asked about them. Now that's early. Yeah. Tracy Rocker and Frank Bush are not back. I've established who's back. So let's get into that. And we'll start on offense. Luke Stocker is back, the tight ends coach. He had a great influence on the run game. When the Titans started running the ball well for the last 5-6 weeks of the season, Luke Stocker had taken on an additional role and was really helping to plot the run game. Those offensive line coaches, Scott Fuchs and Matt Jones, were coaching the offensive line, but they were not scheming and game planning the run game. Luke Stocker took on an additional role there with Bo Hardigree, the play caller, with Nick Holtz, the offensive coordinator, and with Mike McCoy, the head coach, all offensive player. So Stocker, we knew his stock was way up. I think there are people that think he's going to wind up being a head coach in the NFL. And I am not at all surprised that he is back. I think he's got a bright future and that the Titans really like him. And I think that they conveyed that to Salah, and Salah liked him too. Randy Jordan, the running back coach, also kept. He did good work with Tony Pollard in the second half of the season. You know, I have mixed feelings about Tajay Spears. Khalil Mullins also under contract coming ahead. I would cut Pollard, take the $7 million that you save with him, spend it towards another free agent running back. There's some good ones out there. We know Breece Hall, and we don't know if Salah and Hall liked each other or didn't like each other from their time with the Jets together. But you also have Kenneth Walker from Seattle heading towards free agency, Williams from Dallas, productive backs. But I will say this, and I posted a video last night about this, saying that Robert Saleh, to retain these two guys on offense, to retain guys from offense for starters, and to retain two guys from the run game side of the offense tells me that he liked what he saw from the run game side of the offense. So he liked something. He's willing to carry that over. A lot of big decisions to be made on offense, starting with the offensive coordinator, and then a quarterback's coach, and then a wide receivers coach, and offensive line. All very big, but more geared to the pass game. Offensive lines both ways, obviously. But he liked what he saw from the run game. If he's keeping a tight ends coach who was instrumental in the run game and the running backs coach, you could see that video and all these small videos that I've been doing by following my Instagram, which I just put up there in the links. So those are the two guys that have been kept on offense. I think Trevor Browder, an offensive assistant that nobody would know anything about, is also going to be kept. Gone. Bo Hardegree. Look, I think he did some really good things with Cam Ward down the stretch. He was the point man on this. But Titans are looking for a whole new Cam Ward in his second season. You got a new head coach. You're going to have a new coordinator. And it's not unexpected that they're going to have all new offensive pass game people. That starts with Nick Holtz being out and Bo Hardegree being out. Tyke Tolbert, the wide receivers coach, I think is a good coach. I mean, this guy got a ridiculous production out of Nick Westbrook-Akine, who, got better and better and better before he left to sign with Miami last year, which was probably a mistake. He was not productive in Miami, but he would have been more productive in Tennessee, I'm convinced. Chim DK, and in particular, but Alec Iomanner also good rookie seasons for the Titans as fourth-round draft picks. And I think Tyke Tolbert did good work. But again, understandable. You're not going to keep a great deal of position assistant coaches on your new staff. Scott Fuchs and Matt Jones, I mentioned the two offensive line guys that took over for Bill Callahan and were preaching Bill Callahan's stuff, also gone. On defense, one position coach retained, Tony Oden. Tony Oden worked with Robert Saleh in Houston 1 year, I think, in San Francisco, and then for his entire term with the Jets. They're obviously friends and know each other quite well. Tony Oden was working with Darrell Baker, Jalen Armour-Davis, Kaiir Elam, and Micah Robinson by the end of the season. He had very little to work with. The Titans started out with L'Jarius Sneed, Jarvis Brownlee, and Roger McCreary as their top three corners. Those guys were gone in a hurry. We talked a lot to Denard Wilson about that. Talked to Oden about it some, but here's a guy that had the least to work with probably on the whole team by the time it was over. I think he's a good coach. Steve Donatel, a defensive assistant whose father was a defensive coordinator around the league, I think is also going to be back. Gone. Ben Bloom, outside linebackers coach. Again, we're talking about switching from a 4-3 to a 3-4. More hands in the dirt. Ends, not outside linebackers. I heard that he might have been close to being retained. He's not back. Frank Bush had a little bit of a Houston overlap with Robert Saleh, not back. Tracy Rocker, defensive line coach, obviously, influenced Jeff Simmons, but you wonder, who wouldn't have been had good results with Jeff Simmons. Steve Jackson, one of my favorite all-time Titan players because of his accountability. He was one of the most stand-up players ever. This was his second time coaching with the Titans. Tremendous guy. Also not back. Edley's Barbecue has Nashville surrounded. I'm here in 12 South. They've got restaurants in Nolansville, Franklin in the Factory, Franklin and Berry Farms, Sylvan Park, East Nashville, Donaldson, and Gallatin. Their food is just terrific. I recommend the burnt ends or the avocado salad, which you can get any of their proteins on. It's just great stuff. Service is tremendous. Ryan, my favorite bartender here, for some reason she's not eating. She doesn't need to not eat, but we're hearing a lot about her dietary habits lately. I'm going to be eating. As soon as this show's over, I'm probably getting one of those avocado salads. The portions are big. Food is hot. It's delicious. You get their app, download their app. They deliver food to your house hot and fast, and the delivery charge is minimal compared to any of these places that you use, DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, whatever. Those are huge ripoffs. We know it. We all take the hit to get stuff delivered home. Edley's doesn't hit you over the head for that. They get stuff to you fast, and they make it like the restaurants in your house, if that's what you want. See how this storm goes, but I'm sure as soon as things are clear, they will be doing their best to get food to your house. So keep them in mind. And before it snows tonight, get to Edley's. Have a pig out session before you start eating that chili that you're making at home or whatever it is. Edley's Barbecue, they're great to me. Be great to them. Aaron Donald wasn't the longest guy, but made up for it with speed, strength, and technique. Aaron Donald is very much a defensive tackle. And Ruben Bain is being looked at as an end/edge. That's two different positions. He's not Aaron Donald. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom here. Damar is a big dude and always fills me up. Jess says the avocado salad sounds amazing. Jess, you need to get over here and eat that. Does Holtz just wash out of the league? Not much to evaluate for a new employer. I bet you that Holtz is in the league. I wouldn't be surprised to see him land in Atlanta. Mr. First Down with the big wind-up here says it'll probably get me raked over the coals. But what's up with the new uniform I keep hearing about? Titans jerseys are currently 40% off. Why would you spend the 60% right now on a jersey that is clearly going to be put away? Titans aren't saying that they've got new uniforms coming, but the only other jersey that is selling for 40% off right now is the jersey of the Atlanta Falcons. And the Atlanta Falcons aren't trying to be coy. The Atlanta Falcons are creating buzz by saying, hey, we've got new uniforms coming. So unless you're super nostalgic about the Titans' current uniforms, buying one of their jerseys right now would be a ridiculous move. Save your 60% and spend it towards 100% of a new jersey when they come out. They're not saying anything. They want to be coy. Maybe they'll have a big ceremony downtown. That was a hell of a party when they unveiled the uniforms that they're wearing now. Frank Wycheck was there even wearing the jersey. One of his last big public appearances. But look, they're leaning into the light blue for sure. I would think they would be Oiler-esque because Warren Moon did not see anything when he said he saw something. They have heard something. But all indications are they're leaning into the Oilers concepts because they've talked about not bringing the Oilers uniforms out anymore as an alternate. So I would be on the lookout for that. But in terms of getting hard information, good luck. Sammy says if they're doing new jerseys for 26, they got to be out by the draft, I think. Yeah, if they're going to be out by the draft, I would have thought we would have heard more buzz. But the idea of keeping things a secret is just silly. There are a lot of people that see them, and we remember the last jersey, right? They wanted to hold it until people came out on stage down on Broadway, and there was a picture of somebody. You know, if you're going to sell them, if you're going to sell them, people are going to see them. Yeah, so you can do the best you can, and yeah, they want to keep it a secret. They keep it a secret. I don't know why you wouldn't say, "Hey, we've got them coming," and create, anticipation. But Tuck Special at Edley's is a popular choice here for sure. Yeah, I mean, we can go back and forth on this. The Coach B says, not saying Bain is the next Donald, just saying when Aaron lined up at DE, OTs didn't breathe a sign of relief because he's not lengthy. True. This is, a superior player. But he came into the league as a DT, played primarily DT, and then you say so good at DT, we could throw him out to end and mess with people. I also think his arms, while short, were not like record short. Is Mike Herndon roommates with Arthur Smith? I take it that Mike is endorsing Arthur Smith. I have no problem with Arthur Smith. I think he'd do. Thing about Arthur Smith, as I said earlier, we have not seen him with a good young quarterback. And I think Cam Ward's a good young quarterback, has a lot of promise. I would be interested in seeing Arthur Smith coordinate his offense. Get him a better running back, build that play action, let him play a little deeper level, throw mid-range passes, and get him a receiver that can do what A.J. Brown did in terms of running that crossing stuff. As a Raiders fan, what would I want for Tavandre? I mean, I don't think you're going to get anything near the second that you spend on Tavandre for Tavandre. I would think you'd get probably maybe a fifth that could turn into a fourth. I'm not great at estimating these things. But look, when you're giving up on a guy before his third year, you're not signaling this guy's worth great value, even if it's the system change that is causing the move. And it would be the system change that's causing the move, except that it was out there that the Titans weren't happy with this guy. It is out there that he said he was going to Dallas with Jeff Simmons last year, or a lot of people expected he would, and then he didn't. So there are questions about his commitment also. So Adams, anti-running back in the first round, unless it's a generational type of guy, and Love might be that guy. Get back in the 10 area and pick up a late first or second, win-win. I don't know that people are dying to trade down in this draft, which doesn't have a huge number of guys that are going to have first-round grades, to hear a lot of draftniks tell it. And, I have talked about that too. I allow for the completeness of Jeremiah Love and the incompleteness of some people at your biggest position of needs to create a scenario where it's possible. But I like the other Notre Dame running back in the third round, I think would be a good get. And and look, Saleh's defenses, they've played a lot of cover three. Earl Thomas was key when he was in Seattle. If you can find a safety that could be a linchpin like that, Downs is very compelling. But again, with the problems they've had, look, Salah doesn't blitz a lot, right? So you got to be able to rush with that front four. Who do they have that rushes outside of Jeffrey Simmons? They've got to solve the rush problem first and foremost to me. So you can't take Downs at 4 to me. Now, if you could trade down and take Downs and say, well, we've got this huge key piece in our back and we're going to, try like hell to address the end, that's fine as long as you're getting extra picks. But taking Downs at 4 to me would be crazy. Salah and Cohen have huge beef. So do I see it as an emerging Packers versus Bears level rivalry? There will never be such a thing as a Packers versus Bears level rivalry. I mean, that level rivalry is what it is because they've been playing for 100 years or whatever it is. Titans Jaguars is never going to be that. Can it be heated? Can they, mix it up? Yeah. Is it ever going to be like that? No. Overstatement. So give me 1 second here. If you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or iHeart after the fact, please give me a rate, a review, a subscription. That helps a lot here on YouTube. I know you're giving me a thumbs up and subscribing. That helps the cause on Twitter. I hope you're following me. I appreciate that. For less than a cup of coffee, a beer, or a cocktail, you get all my Titans news and analysis, plus Mike Herndon's analytics, Drew Beatty's film study, Braden Gall's draft work, Blake Bedingfield's game reviews, and it's the best way to support independent journalism on the Titans. Join paulkuharsky.com. There's a link in the comments over there to make it especially easy for you. Let's see what's coming in here new. Hoping some team loves Chambliss or Ty Simpson and wants to move up or get ahead of another team for them, but not likely. Sounds like the Jets might go quarterback at 16. I mean, look, quarterbacks always rise. And so I won't be surprised at all to see somebody come up for a quarterback. But, you know, why would 4 be the spot as opposed to 2 or 6 or whatever? Don't know. So, keep the hope alive for that. Byard's not coming back, and they're not looking to get old. But, I mean, if I'm Chicago, I'm doing everything I can to hold on to Kevin Byard. He's playing great there. But these return propositions that people have, Byard come back, Mariota come back as the backup quarterback. I wouldn't bet on anybody coming back. If Arthur ends up, we already hit that. Derek Barnett, I've been a fan of coming here for a while, and I think now he would fit Salah's mold better. Desmond Ritter's not taking a straight, just not very good. Not very good. Todd Temple, that's just ridiculous. You're an idiot. Taking shots at Lori Locust. Jason Jones says Edley's has the best cornbread in the world. All right, I get a fess up about my shit pick last week where I thought the Bears would win. I dropped my record down to 23, 20, and 1 against the spread. It would still be profitable. And I'm going to pick both games. I feel good about both games. Odds of hitting both games? Low. Do I feel good about both games? Yes, I do. Listen, this is being much too overplayed that Stidham could come in and play well for Denver, that Denver's home field advantage is so meaningful against the Patriots. That's ancient history, what Denver did at home against the Patriots. And also what's being overrated is Denver's defense. Denver's scoring defense allowed 18.9 points per game, 4th in the league. Very good. You know who's better? New England. New England 3rd in the lead at 17.8, 3rd in the league. New England's going to win this game. New England's going to cover, giving 4.5 on the road against a backup quarterback. It's not it's a Vrabel thing because Vrabel coaches them, and I think he'll have them prepared. But Vrabel's Patriots aren't worried about the altitude. They're not worried about the Patriots' long-term history at Mile High against Denver, in Denver. And New England's got a good defense, too. Stidham's going to make mistakes. They're not going to be able to survive. New England's going to the Super Bowl, as is Seattle, who's been the best team in the league the last 6 weeks or so, giving 2.5 at home to the Rams. I'm taking both favorites. I think the Rams, it's always dangerous to go against the Rams because they're a find-a-way team. But I think Seattle finds a way. I put some money. I don't make big bets or anything like that, but about 5-6 weeks ago, I started feeling Seattle, and I made a little bet on Seattle to win the Super Bowl, and I feel pretty good about that right now. Adam says Vrabel ain't losing to Stidham, and I feel pretty good about that. And yeah, Nick, I'm saying Road Dog covers 4.5. I feel pretty good about it. Looking forward to watching those games. I wish I could get myself into some basketball here. I need a good movie. What's the best movie I need to watch that I haven't seen yet? I want to watch that Ben Affleck and what's his boy, the Matt Damon movie on Netflix. That sounds like it could be decent. But I'll be looking for some other TV to watch, provided the power doesn't go out. I guess I'll be doom scrolling my phone. The Rip. Is The Rip good? The Rip and Begonia. What's the other thing? One what after the other? Begonia. I'm taking movie recommendations. I appreciate it. Juice. Thoughts on the beast that is travel baseball? I thought I would be getting a raise once my kids were out of diapers, but then travel ball came calling. There's no avoiding it, buddy. I mean, if your kids' friends are doing it, and even if your kid doesn't do it, everybody's kids are doing something like that. So, like you say, well, I'm not going to put my kid in that stuff. He's going to stay home and play in the neighborhood. Nobody's in the neighborhood because everybody's doing some version of travel baseball, travel something, and they're gone. They're at practice or at a game every evening virtually and every weekend virtually. And so your kid's got to find something that he's into, and it sucks. And every parent knows it sucks. And collectively, we should all say, let's not do this. But nobody's going to say, let's not do this, because everybody thinks their kid's going to go get a scholarship, which none of our kids are going to get. Eddington, another movie suggestion. Running Man, I don't know. The Notebook, I will not be watching. Though my oldest brother is a big fan of The Notebook. All right, we're running out of steam here. One battle after another. Is that as good as everybody says? That's one that's the top of my head. Chances Munchak is the offensive line coach. I would say less than 30%. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that he and Salah have a connection, though. He was in Houston for a long time, and Bruce Matthews is an institution in Houston. He's probably around the Texans during some of that. So he might, like, maybe he's friends with Matthews from some, seeing him around. That, to me, would be the doorway in if it was going to happen, but I wouldn't bet on it. I would bet on Younger. Rob Neal taking a funny shot. So the Titans could have signed Super Bowl quarterback Darnold and retained Super Bowl coach Vrabel. Yeah, I understand not signing Darnold. I'm more than on the record about firing Vrabel. But here we are. It's a good thing they got a Vrabel-esque guy, a guy with a big, outgoing, leader of men personality. Just always want what you didn't have from your last guy. Look, never should have fired him. But we've covered that pretty thoroughly. Eat at Edley's. Join paulkuharsky.com. Stay safe. Stay safe in this storm. And check out Facebook / Instagram for these reels. I'll give you Facebook too. Because that's where a lot of them are getting watched, and I appreciate you being on there. So pop by. And I wish you the best for the weekend. Hope we get some good games on Sunday and that our power is in and everything. Don't block the box. And be sure, please, to lock your locks. Cheers, people. Got to hit 2.